now here in studio live with us, we have one of these great personalities, Rabbi Binyomin Pruzansky, who publishes books that touch people in the most important place, in their hearts. Stories That Warm the Heart is his latest book published by Art Scroll. I open it up and I see that he has a haskama from Harav David Kviat, so that speaks volumes. And Rabbi Pruzansky, I understand that you're a Torah mate?
I am a Torah mate.
Oh,
honored to be one.
Boy, lucky is the person that gets you as a Torah mate. I'll tell you the truth, you really should have a whole group, not just one. We got to work on that. But so tell us about your Oorah experience.
My Oorah experience is incredible. It started with a Shabbat with Oorah, and things have not been the same ever since then. I was really inspired, and what I saw at Shabbat with Oorah, the warmth. Talk about stories that warm the heart. Oorah is an organization that warms thousands of people's hearts.
Yeah, that's what we do. We try to make an impact that the girl or the boy or the man or the woman should never be the same.
Unbelievable. Pleasure. It's a great honor to be here with you, Rabbi Weiss, and Country Yossi. It's really going to be an experience.
So let me ask you something. How did you get involved with the Torah mates?
They called me up, like they call so many people in Lakewood, and they say, do you want to be a Torah mate? And I couldn't turn down that offer. The chance to warm someone's heart really spoke to me, and that's why I just jumped in.
How long have you been doing it?
About 2 years.
2 years. With the same person or with different people?
Different people.
Different people. So maybe you'll share with us a story?
I'd be honored to. The story that I have begins with a Shabbat with Oorah. Shabbat with Oorah is an experience, as I said, pairing hundreds of people together, families that come together with Shabbat with Oorah. And the objective is to have a family, a frum family, together with a family that's not yet religious, peer together and see what Shabbos is all about. Give them a taste of Shabbos. So I was paired up with the Cohen family, a family from Staten Island. And this is an Israeli Sephardic family that came to Oorah. This was the first time at an Oorah Shabbat. And when I was at the meal, the Friday night meal, looking around, I was thinking, how am I going to connect with Mr. Cohen? What can I do? How can I get involved with him? So we were trying to talk, and it wasn't really going. And, I tried to make a connection, and then finally I did. Because I found that Mr. Cohen had a daughter who was at the table. Her name was Ronit. Ronit was 25, and she was looking to get married. She was looking for a good shidduch. And I spoke to Mr. Cohen, and I said, Mr. Cohen, maybe I have someone for your daughter. And I come from Lakewood. I'm in BMG. It's not easy to find an Israeli with the right touch for this girl, but I thought maybe I could. So I began to think about it, and then when I thought about all of my friends, no one really came to mind. But then, finally, I thought that there's someone that I do know that's Israeli that might be perfect. And that is a boy. His name is Yossi, and he works in a supermarket near my house. Yossi is such a wonderful guy. He comes from Israel. He's a Baal Tshuva himself. I said, hey, this might be an idea. So I presented the shidduch to Mr. Cohen, and he said, okay, speak to Ronit. So I spoke to Ronit, and I told him all about this Yossi. And Ronit told me, Rabbi, I really need to get married soon, because if I don't, I'm just going to fall. I need someone to help me out over here. I need God to help me. Someone's got to help me so I could stay above ground, stay from sinking. So I set it up. I went over immediately after Shabbos, inspiring Shabbos. I went to the supermarket. I spoke to Yossi. He said, Yossi, I got a shidduch for you. And I spoke to Yossi about Ronit, and he said, fine, no problem. Within 5 minutes, shidduch was set up. They went out, and they came back to me, and they said it was unbelievable. It was remarkable. There's so much in common. They went out for months, weeks and months. And one day I came over to Yossi and said, Yossi, how about come to me for a Shabbos? He says, no, I can't. I'm going to Staten Island. I said, really? Who do you know at Staten Island? He said, of course, I'm going to the Cohen family. Whoa! I couldn't believe it. They really hit it off. A few months later, they were engaged. Mazel tov. I was so happy. They had an engagement party, and they said, come to Staten Island. Please, can you speak? Can you be our guest speaker by the engagement party? I said, okay, but I'm not sure what I'm going to say, but okay, I'll come. Now, that day, I happened to go to RJJ, Yeshiva in Staten Island, and I spoke over there. After speaking in RJJ, I told my friend Rabbi Steinhardt, who was a Rebbe there, I told him that I'm coming back tonight to Staten Island because I have to speak at this engagement party. He said, really? Who's getting engaged? Who got engaged? I said, this Ronit Cohen. He says, Ronit Cohen. Then you have to speak to Mrs. Newman. I said, Mrs. Newman? Who's Mrs. Newman? He said, Mrs. Newman is Ronit's teacher, and she has a story for you. I said, a story? Okay, I'm coming. So I went over to Mrs. Newman, and Mrs. Newman told me a remarkable thing. She said that Ronit and her was so close. Throughout elementary school, they were so close and tight, and Ronit was really growing. She was becoming so spiritual. But when she got to high school, she started to falter a little, and Mrs. Newman hadn't spoken to her in a while. And one day, Ronit comes to RJJ to pick up her brother. And when Mrs. Newman saw Ronit, she couldn't believe it, because Ronit had obviously fallen from where she was. So she came over to her, she said, Ronit, what happened to you? What happened? Where'd you go wrong? What happened? And she came over to her, and she said, I'm sorry, Mrs. Newman. I was trying it so hard, but I lost my spirituality. I just lost it. So Mrs. Newman turned to her, and she started crying. She held on to her. And she said, Ronit, you didn't lose it, you threw it away. And not only did you throw your spirituality away, but you threw that of your children and your grandchildren. Ronit, don't give up. And she said, but what can I do? Mrs. Newman, it's so hard. Ronit, please, I want you to take upon yourself one thing for Hashem. What? She said, Shabbos. Take upon yourself Shabbos. And Ronit said, from now on, I'm Shomer Shabbos. I'm going to keep Shabbos no matter what, no matter how. And Ronit did that. She kept Shabbos until this day. Mrs. Newman told me, I said, great, I have my story now. Let me go. I'm going to tell this over by the engagement party. We got a story. I went to speak at that engagement party. I can't tell you, it was such an amazing experience. I wanted to give them an inspiring message, and I had it. Here was Ronit, who had given up so much to keep Shabbos. It was so difficult. And now here was this boy Yossi, the boy who was in the supermarket. His name was Yossi. And this boy also, he came to America to live the dream of the American dream, to live it up, to go and have a party. And then he accepted upon himself Shabbos as well. He became a Baal Tshuva. So we have Ronit who accepted Shabbos, and we have Yossi who accepted Shabbos, and then we have the Shabbat with Oorah. There's one connection over here. Shabbat. You keep Shabbos.
That's amazing. It's amazing.